Okay, we're going to cover in Chapter 8, flowers, fruits, and seeds. So, flowers occur in a wide variety of sizes, colors, textures, and habitats. You have your annuals, which complete their life cycle in one growing season, the biennials that take 2 seasons, and the perennials that may take several to many years to complete their life cycles. Okay, so in the monocots versus the dicots on this section. The dicots and the monocots are distinguished from one another by the differences in the numbers of flower parts, the differences in the number of cotyledons, the veination, the presence or absence of cambia, vascular bundle arrangement, and the pollen grain apertures. So on a typical flower, it consists of a peduncle and a receptacle to which are attached sepals, which are the calyx, petals, which are the corolla, stamens, and pistil. So flowers may have no petals, or the petals may be fused together, and many flowers may be in inflorescence. Actually, the center, and when we talk about an inflorescence, we're talking about the center actually contains hundreds of smaller flowers that combine to create a cluster, and that's what's called an inflorescence. So I put a few pictures down here on the bottom where you can see the raceme, the spike, the spikelet, the catkin, just a few of the examples. So the stamen. The stamen consists of a pollen-bearing anther and a stalk or a filament. So your stamen, the male part of the flower, will be the picture on the left, and you can see the anther and the filament. And then the structure of the carpel over on the right is going to be the female part of the plant. That's where you've got your stigma, style, and your ovary. Okay, so a pistil consists of the stigma, style, and ovary. So this is, once again, the female part. We're just looking at the overall flower compared to the last side. So the ovary may be superior or inferior, and it contains one or more ovules. So the pistil is talking about the stigma, style, and ovary, all of those parts together right there in the middle. So a fruit, which is unique to flowering plants, is a mature ovary, and hormones promote the greatest fruit growth. Parthenocarpic fruits are seedless and develop without fertilization occurring, but not all seedless fruits are parthenocarpic. So parthenocarpy, development of fruit without fertilization. So the fruit resembles a normally produced fruit, but it is seedless. And varieties of the pineapple, banana, cucumber, grape, orange, grapefruit, persimmon, and breadfruit exemplify naturally occurring parthenocarpy. So in botany and horticulture, it's the natural or the artificially induced production of fruit without fertilization of the ovules, which makes the fruit seedless. It may also produce apparently seedless fruit, but the seeds are actually aborted while they are still small. So you may actually see some small ones. So some of the reasons that we would do this artificially is so you don't have to spit out those seeds when you eat a watermelon, or in grapes if you don't want to go around the seed. So a mature fruit has an outer exocarp, an inner endocarp around the seed or seeds, and a mesocarp between the exocarp and the endocarp. And the three regions may be fused together as a pericarp. And at maturity, fruits may be fleshy or dry, and a fruit may be derived from the ovary alone or from adjacent flower parts as well. So let's look at the picture on the left of the berry of a tomato. And you can see the different layers, the exocarp, mesocarp, and endocarp, which all fuse together is called the pericarp. In the very center, that more white, fleshy looking part there that kind of makes a T or a cross of sorts, that's the placenta. Then you have the funiculus, and then you have the seeds. Okay, on the middle one, this is more like a peach pit. You can see the endosperm embryo seed coat where that's all fused together. And then down here, the second part, that's where the seed is. You can see on the pericarp, you can see where the endocarp is, the mesocarp, and the exocarp. So that whole thing is called the pericarp, but the endocarp is actually up there around the seed. And then next is the coconut, and you can tell that the where the endocarp or the shell is, and the endosperm is the fleshy part on the inside. So fleshy fruits may develop from a flower with a single pistil. This is a simple fruit. Aggregate fruits develop from a single flower with more than one pistil. And multiple fruits are derived from flowers and an inflorescent, like we talked about earlier. So simple fleshy fruits include drupes and berries. Berries may be true berries, peepos, or hesperidiums. Pomes have flesh derived from both of the receptacle and the ovary. So you can look at your tomato, which is a berry, and the diagram shows you where the epicarp and the mesocarp is. The drupe is an example of a mango, and you can see the epicarp, the endocarp, and the mesocarp on that one. Your cucumber is an example of a peepo, and your orange is an example of a hesperidium. Your apple is a pome, and the pomegranate is a blastula. So the accessory fruits consist of more than one ovary alone, and some aggregate fruits, like the strawberry, are largely composed of accessory tissue. And the individual fruitlets of a multiple fruit develop together into a single larger fruit, like the entire strawberry. You might wonder, botanically speaking, what is the difference between a fruit and a vegetable? Well, botanically, a fruit is a seed-bearing structure that develops from the ovary of a flowering plant, whereas vegetables are all other plant parts such as your roots, leaves, and stems. So some dry fruits split as they mature, and such fruits include follicules, legumes, silicles or silicles, and capsules. So these are dry fruits that split. And non-splitting dry fruits include achenes, nuts, grains, which are also called caryopsis, samaras, and schizocarps. And nuts are non-splitting, hard and bony fruits containing only one seed. Neighborhood examples include things like oaks, walnuts, hickories, chestnuts, and hazelnuts. When nuts occur on an oak tree, they have a special form, and they are also known as acorns. So these are all non-splitting dry fruits. Is a peanut a nut or a legume? Be thinking about that. Okay, here's just another example of an achene. That is, another example would be like your sunflower seed. The other one, here's the, I know you've all seen these, like these little helicopter blades that fall from the tree, schizocarp. And the merocarp is also a samara. On your grains or caryopsis, an achene in which the ovary wall and seed coat are inseparable. So this would be like your wheat, your rice, and your maize. So fruits and seeds may have wings, plumes, and other adaptations for wind dispersal. So some fruits and seeds have adaptations for animal, bird, or water dispersal. And some fruits eject seeds with force, and some have modifications that drill seeds into the ground. Give me one example of a seed that is dispersed by water. Okay, humans disperse many seeds, and most countries and a few states have strict regulations governing the importation of plant material, primarily to control the spread of pests and diseases. But we all know that we've been out into the yard, out into the woods, and you get these little seeds stuck in your tennis shoelaces and on your pants or on bags, how they can just grab hold. And this is one way that we disperse many seeds. So a bean seed has a helium and a micropyle, a seed coat, two cotyledons, and an embryonic bean plant consisting of a plumule and a radicle. So this diagram, Jessica, we know that a bean is a dicot, so you've got the two seed leaves, two cotyledons, you can see the seed coat, the radicle where it comes up through the middle. I'm looking on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see where the hypocotyl, the epicotyl, where the point of attachment for the cotyledon is, and the plumule. Okay, on the left, this is what we think of when we see a bean. This is the lateral view. The seed coat, of course, is on the outside. The hilum is what we call like that little eye or the little spot there in the middle, and then the micropyle is like that little hole that is right beside the hilum. I'm going to bring an assortment of beans for you guys to look at. So in grains, the plumule and the radicle are protected by a coleoptile and a coleorrhizia, respectively. So this is just a picture, and A shows a grain, B shows the same cut lengthwise, and C is the embryo part of the seed, like taken out of the bottom picture on the left and actually magnified up here on the right for you. So you see the coleoptile on the top, we're looking on the right hand side, the plumule down here right below that, and you can see the radicle almost towards the bottom. Okay, so on your plant development, we know that there's pollination, then the seed development, the seed maturation, seed dormancy, then germination, then the plant begins to grow, and then it produces a new plant, and then it starts all over. But germination of a seed depends on the cessation of dormancy. And dormancy may be sustained by mechanical circumstances, and scarification may break dormancy in such seeds. So dormancy may also be induced by growth or germination inhibitors, or after ripening may need to occur. Cold temperatures may be necessary for the germination of some seeds, and stratification may break the dormancy of such seeds. So over on the right-hand side, it's cold, it's snowing. We typically think of that as not proper growing weather, and that seed is going to be dormant until the proper time of the year. On the left, you'll see various forms of seeds that are in dormancy that we keep that way until we are ready to have them go in the ground. So if you go to the co-op and you buy some seeds, they're going to be in a dormancy cycle. And a seed will not germinate unless environmental factors, which include water, oxygen, light, and certain temperature ranges, are favorable for that particular plant, and they're not all the same. And seeds remain viable anywhere from a few days to some of them for more than 100 years. And the viability of most seeds is extended by storage at low temperatures under dry conditions. But some weed seeds have their viability extended by storage under humid, cool condition that includes little oxygen. And some plants produce seeds that undergo no dormancy at all. The growth of the embryo while the seed and the fruit are still on the plant is termed vivipary. So this is a red mangrove. And what happens is there won't be any dormancy at all. It will literally start to grow a new plant. Okay, so here are some review questions that would be really good to study before we have a test, like define the calyx, corolla, receptacle, peduncle, pedicel, pistil, filament, ovary, and carpel. Indicate the features by which your dicots are distinguished from your monocots. What is the difference between a fruit and a vegetable? And what causes an ovary to develop into a fruit? Okay, and backing up to number 3. Find some examples of that one. Let's see, what causes an ovary to develop into a fruit? What are the various parts of a fruit? How do fleshy fruits differ from dry fruits? And distinguish among simple, aggregate, and multiple fruits. Distinguish among achenes, grains, samaras, and nuts. And what adaptations do seeds and fruits have for dispersal by water and animals? Excuse me. Define the plumule, the radicle, the coleoptile, the coleorhiza, hypocotyl, after ripening, stratification, and vivipary. Okay, now we want to also look at some discussion questions. Most wind-pollinated flowering plants have inconspicuous, non-fragrant flowers. How might nature be affected if all flowers were that way? Do you believe the botanical distinction between fruits and vegetables is a good one? And if not, how could you change it? And in discussing poems, it was observed that the bulk of the flesh in an apple comes from the floral tube. What could you do to prove or disprove this? And seed and fruit dispersal is achieved with the aid of wind, water, animals, mechanical means, and humans. So if you were designing a new plant, can you think of any new way in which it might be dispersed? And finally, when volcanic activity or coral polyps cause new islands to appear in the oceans, they eventually acquire some vegetation. So would you expect the types of dispersal mechanisms for the flowering plants on these islands to be the same as they were for ancient continents? And our reference is Stern's Introductory Plant Biology. See you guys in class.